Alright, so in this video I'm going to walk you through how to incorporate a cognitive or reaction time experiment into a Psytoolkit survey. So Psytoolkit has both this survey functionality where you can give self-report instruments to an online audience. You can also build into it behavioral tasks. Now Psytoolkit does have a number of these behavioral tasks that you can do sort of by default, and that's really what we're going to be going into today. So when you do this, it's actually fairly easy. So let's create a new survey where we could incorporate this. So let's just go with example survey and complete this completely new survey. Okay. Now there is, if you go to the scripting help tab, syntax that's already set up for you to do this. So if you look on the left-hand side here, I have embed a reaction time experiment. And the actual line that you would use to do this is actually really simple and easy. So I'm just going to copy and paste this over to my survey tab and throw that down. Now if we look at this syntax, I'll go ahead and zoom in for you so it's easier to see. The label, you pick whatever you want, right? So in this case, let's just go with example EXP, for example, experiment. The type is experiment, and then the actual line that you use here for the end, once you have that dash there, is the name of the experiment in question. Okay, and so actually embedding it in a survey is pretty simple. Okay, so for example, I have a bunch of experiments already ready to go. So for example, let's just pick one that I have here. Let's go with one that looks cool. Let's go with strum project underscore neutral middle. Okay, this is a simple gambling task that I made custom. So I'm going to go ahead and save that code that I just worked here. And then just to make my life easy, I'm going to come over here to strum project neutral middle. And I'm just going to copy and paste because it needs to be an exact match letter for letter. Okay, and then I can go back to the survey. I need my example survey. It's in alphabetical order. There we go. And then I simply replace my experiment with the actual name of the reaction time or cognitive experiment that I want. So I'll go ahead and save that code. I'll compile it. And then I'm going to put the survey online for while I'm still designing it, so that you can see what we have here. So I'll test the survey in a new tab. There's that start page. We didn't do anything with that, so it's pretty much blank, but I'll click the button to start the survey. And then here is my reaction time experiment, or my in this case, gambling task. So this is a custom designed one where it lays out the instructions for what you need to do at each step. Essentially, the way this game works is there'll be a computer that has 2 decks of cards, and you as the individual have 3 decks of cards, and you have to essentially kind of play something equivalent to the card game War if you played that growing up. The computer will play a card, you as the human then play a card, the higher number wins. The goal is to win as much money as you can. Okay, and so this is a simple experiment. Now this one's actually designed to try and get at assessing negative reinforcement and how quickly people learn via it. If the computer plays that right-hand card, it's very difficult. Well, actually, it's counterbalance. It's very difficult to win if you play a certain deck of your own. But there's a way you can always come up with a draw, more or less. Okay? Now, I'm actually doing pretty good here, but it's based on a random number thing. Now, obviously, you don't have this pre-programmed in. So how can you actually get an experiment? Because you may not have a list from doing research for years, okay? So there is actually, if we go to this, we could create our own experiment here. And if we click create our own experiment on the left-hand side up here, note that you can create a completely new experiment where you would customize it, you'd upload your own images, you'd have to code everything, okay? There's also a way where you can upload pre-designed experiment from a zip file. Okay, now this is what we'll actually do right here. Okay, so if you go back to this online survey tab, where you go to the main Psytoolkit website, you'll note down the left-hand side there's a quote library of experiments. Okay, you need to click this library of experiments, then it'll make you click here to look through all these different experiments. So there are over 40 experiments that you can just cycle through and test. An ABA task, attentional blink, core C block. Each one of these has its own little link. And a lot of these are sort of really big famous ones, but also ones that the person who runs and supports Psytoolkit may use for their own research. For example, they use a Simon task. But real quick, let's just go with a simple go, no-go task. Okay, it'll give you this page where it'll tell you about what all it is. It'll even give you a little demo that you can run. It'll talk you through the data output file, give you some further reading on it. Okay, but note that right here, there's also the Psytoolkit code in a zip file. If you were to click this, okay, which I will, it'll let you save that file somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and save this to my desktop. And so I've saved that zip file. Okay. And so what I can come over here now on this other page where we do it from a Psytoolkit experiment zip file, I can choose this, and then I can go to my desktop, not my OneDrive because that is messy. Okay, and select that go no go zip. I can open it, and then I can say example go no go. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and copy this real quick because this is the name that I'm gonna put in. And then create an experiment from the uploaded Psytoolkit experiment. Here is actually the code for that go no go. Okay, note that it looks very different than the survey code list, but a go no go is ultimately pretty simple. So we can now then go back to our example survey, click on that, and then rather than Strum project, let's go ahead and let's go example no go, save it, and then compile, and then we'll test it. Now it will take us to that go no go experiment. So for a go no go, nice and simple. In the following trials, only press the spacebar if you see the message. Do nothing, no go if you see the following message. Now press spacebar to start. Go, press the spacebar. No go, press nothing. And so I'm just going to run through this task real quick. Now you could edit the overall number of trials, the probability of a no-go, stuff like that by digging into the experiment code. Oh, press the spacebar when I shouldn't have. And I'm going through this because I want to show you how to access the data for this on the back end. Okay, so we're done with the survey. Click this to leave the website. Great. Okay, and it's going to take me to DuckDuckGo. Okay. Now, it will save that data, but it won't put it in the normal output file like it does nominally. So if we come down here to data, prepare data files for download. Okay, and then two different participants, prepare data files for download. Refresh. Continue. Is it good to go? Okay. So I'll download that data in a zip file, and I'll go ahead and save this also to the desktop. And then open up that zipped file. So what you see here is it will give you both your overall data XLX that you're probably used to. Okay, so if I open that up and look at that data XLX, it'll have the survey data in there. But no, we don't have any questions, so this document is pretty much going to be blank. Okay, so here's the participant. They did this reaction time experiment. Here's when they started. Here's when they ended. Okay? So there's really not too much there. Where you have to go is to the experiment data, where you'll have essentially an individual record of what that person did. So it was a go trial. This is how long it took me. Note it took me 1,300 or so milliseconds, so just over a second, primarily because I was talking. Okay. Then otherwise it's giving me my reaction time to press that space bar in seconds. And even right here codes this 1 right here to tell me when it was in air. And breaking down this data file is something that you would actually see if you go back to this page right here, where it says the data file output, the name of the task, the response C in milliseconds, the air status, 0 is correct, 1 is in air. Okay? And so that's what we have there. And there's some survey data, but basically that's how you would create an experiment using a pre-existing one. Now you can go in there and edit the syntax language. So for example, there's our example go, no, go. Now you do not necessarily have to do this. Okay. So you can see here where it's telling you what images are used for it, the actual task, what keys are available, setting a variable called air state. But if you come all the way down to the bottom, you can see how many trials that there is in this task list. The go 120, the no go 5. Okay. All right. Well, there are the basics. Good luck.